She wasn't here, so
Good evening and welcome to the November 15th, 2021 Common Council of the City of Connersville. Let's all rise for pledge allegiance read by Councilman Brian Rao.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening, and we will begin our council meeting by turning your cell phone ringers off. Let's start with roll call.
Councilman Gray,
Present.
Councilman Warner,
Here.
Councilwoman Barrett,
Present.
Councilman Williams Jr.,
Present.
Councilwoman Phillips,
Present.
Councilman Robb.
Present.
Everyone has the minutes of the November 1st, 2021 regular meeting. Are there any additions and corrections to that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Move on down to new business, approval of resolution 2021-107, the NDOT authorization agreement. Rosemary?
You might know more about this than I do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the community crossing grant, NDOT is asking to have just one person to sign all the change orders, and we have set it up to be the mayor.
Sorry, I could have said that. I was
That's all
thinking
right.
something different. Yes, this is from NDOT. They just want one person to sign for everything, and they wanted the mayor to do that, so they wanted a resolution for us to do that. Any questions on that?
I move we pass resolution number 2021-107.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.
And we can take both B and C together.
Okay. We have pending orders 3750 and 3751, deleting dormant funds. Rosemary, you want to talk about that?
Pending ordinance 3750 is to delete the dormant fund of a non-reverting insurance fund. And then 3751 is a ordinance deleting Lawrenceburg Grant Fund. And both the Lawrenceburg Grant Fund will be, the money in there will be going to the Redevelopment Commission, and then the money that's in the non-reverting insurance fund will go back to general.
Questions? Any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve pending orders 3750 and 3751 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And do we have a motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. And do I have a motion for a third and final reading?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Let's see Bill. Clinton's Bill out there? No. Interesting. Well,
Okay.
I'm assuming that's why you're here, Dale, but Bill's not here for some reason, so we'll get through our other business. If he comes in late, we'll go back to it. How's that? Okay, let's move on down to departmental reports. Chief McCreary?
Good evening, council. Hope you had time to look over the monthly report. One thing to point out is our overtime is high. Couple of factors go into that. It was a 3-pay month. We had an officer that was on light duty, and then we also had an officer that was gone for canine training, and he is back now. And both of those officers are back to work, and hopefully next month we'll be down a little. A couple of the numbers to point out from the report. We had 50 vehicle crashes in the city last month. 4 of those had injuries. Out of 144 traffic stops, there were 37 citations that were issued. We did make 122 arrests, and 31 of those were related to drugs or other in that category. Our task force has been busy. They were able to take 38 grams of meth off of the street last month, as well as making 7 arrests, 6 of those being for dealing. An update on our body cameras. Everything's been approved. However, like everything else, they are on back order. Not only are they on back order when we do get them, the earliest that we can get training for those and get them implemented is going to be in February. So we're looking at the first of the year before those become active and online. Any questions?
I have a couple, of course.
Yes, sir.
The old Hummer out here, where are we at on that? I'm still getting complaints on that sitting on a parking lot.
That is, we're waiting to give that back to the federal government. However, there's a process that has to go through. And she has not gave us further instruction on that. We can't just take it and drop it off.
I understand.
It has to be a process, and we're waiting on her to take care of that.
Because that's been some time you've initiated.
Absolutely, it has. We actually started the process last year.
Right. The other thing I've got several complaints on is some of the officers seem to think that they don't have to enforce the city ordinances. I don't know where they're getting that, but they're telling the citizens that that's a code enforcer's problem, not the police department's problem.
Okay, if you would like to call me with specifics on that, I'll address it with those officers and try to reach out to the citizens.
I don't know what the officers are. They didn't tell me who the officers were. I know that it's been primarily through the day and second shift, I believe.
Okay. I'll definitely make sure that's addressed with them.
Thank you.
I was under the impression that the officers only took action on the weekend when the ordinance guy when Nick was off.
That's incorrect.
Okay.
Our officers, they assist Nick. However,
Okay.
they are out making ordinance corrections when we get calls on them. Several officers are proactive and out
Okay,
doing their own as well.
that's what I was thinking, but I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, they're active on them all the time.
Okay, all right.
Anytime anyone's got a complaint, they can call, no matter what time of day it is.
That's all I have.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Nick out there? Clear?
No, sir.
Okay. John? Sorry.
For the month of October, we had 9 hours, 17 minutes of meeting production, 13 hours, 48 minutes of original production. Of course, what I mentioned earlier, the big announcement we have is that we've got a new program premiering this Wednesday, is the TV3 News Journal. It's all about local news that other media outlets may not be able to cover. So we've got local volunteers that are out there doing interviews and talking to people in the community about things that are happening, just to try and get more information out to the community. That will premiere at 5:10 p.m. following CHS Today on Wednesday, and it will air weekdays at 5:10 p.m. And we'll produce new episodes bi-weekly right now. We may increase that later. We'll see how it goes in production. And that'll air, like I said, every weekday at 5:10 p.m. Any questions? Thank you.
John, when's that start?
This Wednesday,
This Wednesday?
we'll have our first episode out at 5:10. And that'll also be on the YouTube channel as well.
Chief Harden?
Good evening. You should have a copy of my report. Not a huge lot going on, not a huge lot. Man, not a huge, nothing real huge urgent going on right now. Had 359 calls, which is still statistically above average for us. We've noticed that here in the last couple of weeks, we've kind of trailed off a little bit. I'm wondering if it's as the COVID numbers have decreased, so has some of our call volume. So, but that's good. The patients we were getting they were a lot sicker than what we're usually dealing with. They were a lot more what we call high acuity patients. So we had some really sick people there for a good while. So those numbers are starting to go down. That's good. Kind of have a little employee rundown of where we're at staffing wise, which we continue to work on. We are down three of our full-time medics right now cannot work due to injury and et cetera. So we've been moving people around, had some people who graciously canceled their time off to fill shifts, so I'm very grateful for that. We did complete, with Jolisa's help, the rural provider relief, for lack of a better term, I'm calling it a grant. For what we did was we calculated our losses due to COVID last year over and above what we year over year, and it came out to roughly $190,000. Now that's been submitted, but we don't know how much of that we'll get. We don't know if we'll get anything, and we don't know when. So it's basically we send it to the federal government, and they'll decide when, if, and how much. So we're just kind of in a waiting game. I'll keep you up to date on that if I learn anything. Does anybody have any questions?
I appreciate you rescheduling your manpower, trying to keep the overtime down and that sort of stuff.
We're trying. The overtime thing is a double-edged sword. Not only are you spending more money, but you're also basically, to me, burning people out.
Right.
When we're as busy as we've been, I don't want people working a lot of extra just because everybody needs a break. So,
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate the cooperation of the employees more than you can try to schedule them, but if you
yeah,
can do it.
I had one that I said, do you care to change shifts? He said, when? I said, 2 days from now. So he changed all his stuff around so that he could do that for us. So I greatly
That's to
appreciated
be
that.
commended. To be commended.
Does anybody have anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent Good. No?
Yeah, she's out there.
She was.
She had to leave.
Oh, she had to leave?
Oh.
Okay. Okay. Chief Jones.
Good evening, council. Everyone should have had time to go over my monthly report. We'll start with the overtime. Just like everyone else, there's a three pay month, so it's high. It was a little higher than normal. October's still a pretty good vacation month. Had some sick time. Also, our newest hire, we're still working on getting him trained, so we're not counting him towards our daily minimum. We should have him, when we're pretty comfortable with him on all of our trucks within the next week or two, then we'll count him as our minimum. This time of year, it's tough. Like I said, that combined with vacations, so it's a little bit tough. Early in the year, it's easy because we don't have a lot of vacations, but this time of year, it's tough. So, any questions on the overtime? Next, we'll move on to the monthly run report. We had 167 runs for the month of October. 81% of those are EMS runs. That's down a little bit from the last few months. Hopefully that's a good sign. Maybe people aren't as sick as what they have been. And you'll see the next few pages, there's a summary of all the runs we had for October. After that, we've got the training for the month of October. I believe we had a total of 49 hours of training. And you can see the list of all the different trainings the guys had through the month. And then the last page, we got the inspections. I only got 4 inspections done last month. Hopefully this month will be a better month and I can get the rest of the guys trained on that software, so I can get them out on the street. Be a little bit better during the winter time. We're a little slower during the winter, so it'll be a better time to get all that done. That's all I have. Any questions?
Your training is on duty training, correct?
Yes.
Correct? That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Director of Culver and Bonnelly.
I'll go first. You didn't ask
I
me
know,
my
that's
question.
why I said it this way. Last time I said Coulter, you stood up, so.
Report for utilities, October, should have received e-revenue disbursement report, nothing really outstanding there. Overtime, we had $7,080 in overtime. Scheduled overtime was 2,000 of that. That was most at the sewer plant due to a workman's comp claim. She's been out for about a month now, so been trying to cover her hours. And the other overtime, just leaks and service calls after hours. Work orders. There's a couple worksheets of some of the important work orders that they did over the last month. Water crew and sewer crew. The water and sewer reports are attached. October is a month of certification training for management. It's about the last meetings of the year before those shut down for winter. So Brad, myself, and Aaron attended the Indiana Water Line Seminar in Fort Wayne for 3 days in October. Aaron and I attended the MS4 meeting in Annapolis for October 26th, which is our stormwater MS4 program that we do. And October 12th, we hosted SIOA meeting at our sewer plant, which helps us get our continuing education hours also. And one of our big things we got completed was getting the service building and the water plant painted. Not for sure last time those was painted, but it's been a few years ago. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Hey, John, you got that picture from this morning? I showed the Border Works today. I thought I would show you guys too. This is our, I keep talking about our $17 million project. That's sort of the layout for what it's gonna look like. That big black area there is a 1-million-gallon storage overflow pond. And then the buildings will be housing our new raw sewage pumps and some screening equipment and our phosphorus removal equipment. So it's coming along pretty good. They're probably at about 25 or 30% on the design. So we've been spending time each week talking to them about different pieces of that. Aaron and I ran over to Rushville today to look at their screening equipment. And so we're staying pretty busy with this project. I just thought I would like to let you see about where it was laid out. It's right there between the transfer and the wastewater plant. So you'll be hearing more about that. It's gonna bid in March and build over the next couple of years. So I'll be talking about that just about every meeting because $17 million, you might want to know something about it. I wanted to tell you that the leaf pickup, they got done with their pass through town and started on the east side and the north side of town. So people will be looking for them to be working their way in towards the middle. So I would imagine that in the next day or two, they'll be on the west side and start through Beeson's and heading south. I don't know how much, I meant to ask Bonnie today, I don't know how much longer we'll be doing that. We usually start about the 1st of December, but the leaves started falling a little bit late, so we'll probably stick with it for an extra week or so in the first week of December. We got permission to hire a new employee today, which I've already done. We've got a guy going through the process to get his paperwork filled out. His name is Brandon Gibson. He's a local young man, and I think he'll make a real good employee for us.
And that's for utilities.
For the utilities, yeah. He'll be working in the maintenance department at the utilities, sort of as a floater for a while. A few things we've been doing at the street department. They've been working on getting up some Christmas lights. The guys all attended a snowplow seminar. The county people also attended that with us, and the park employees.
a couple of them. They pretty much finishing up mowing properties. The cemetery's pretty much done for the year. We've got a little bit of cleanup to do over there. Our new hot box is in town, and I'm looking forward to getting the guys trained on it. The company's coming in for training tomorrow. So you'll see that orange hot box out around town. I guess you guys saw in the paper, we got our community crossings grant for paving. So there's gonna be quite a bit of areas in the east side of Connersville. Laurie Street will be one of them, John Street, all those little, they're called streets, but they look more like alleys, but they've needed it for a long time. Central Avenue is gonna get it. Most of the streets from 9th to 3rd Street between Eastern and Central, 35th Street, Wayne Avenue, and a few other little bits and pieces. But that was about all I was wanting to, oh, the last thing is the EB Drive, 10th Street in Indiana by Dairy Twist water main replacement is about finished. They just about got EB Drive done today, I think, with asphalt, and hopefully by the end of the week, they'll have 10th Street finished, and that project will just about be coming to a close. So everybody that's been very patient with us, it took way too long to get that done, so we apologize and hope that people will be understanding as they have been while we get it finished up.
Where are we on the Tarkington Heights? Where the drains? Is that, I thought that was supposed to start this fall.
Well, we've been trying to get with the people that bought those properties out there to get them permission to try to run. Are you talking about the 2 drains we were gonna put on the street?
Yes.
We had to reroute those because they were in the way he had designed them just wasn't quite working out. So we came up with a new way, but the engineer's been having a hard time getting a hold of the people to get permission to take it the route that we now need to go. So it's still planned to happen, but we're working through the details. And that's all on Mrs. Hathaway and they're getting a contract together and a contractor. It really isn't us doing that.
Right.
We're just kind of helping facilitate it. I know you have a question for me, right? That's right. I know you don't have the list in your pocket, but there's a large sofa set down on the Grand Avenue, about the 700 block. It's been down there about a week. I don't know if they ever called to have that removed or what the story is on that. It's sitting out in the parking area.
7th and
Whether they sit out there and watch traffic or what.
7th and Grand.
Yeah, it's a little north of that.
We'll check into it, see if we can't get that to disappear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna go back to new business since Bill's here.
Apologies, I've got an elderly cat that's unfortunately also incontinent, so I had kind of an emergency. But, yeah, and I've also invited Commissioner Strong. What led to this was that for a while now with David Rickman, he hasn't had the clarity he wants dealing with chickens, particularly in the city limits, but also in other residential areas. And so he asked with something with clarity within the zoning code for something to help make it clear what the responsibilities are, what the requirements are for chickens in residential areas. And then that was then led to request through the actual county commissioners, because the commissioners, the area plan commission, and just like also the city council, the legislative bodies and the area plan commission all have the authority to start the zoning code amendment process. And that's what the commissioners did, was they voted to then forward for action on the part of for the area plan commission. And it could be a lot more than it is, but just focused on, I didn't want to focus on anything else having to do with any urban agriculture, anything like this, but just deal with the city chickens. Because I think Nick can probably also use some clarity also on dealing with the chickens. And, but it's, what I provided isn't set up, well, it isn't in actual code format, but it has the primary elements to it. Is the number of fowl, okay, how they have to be stored, and with the structure, how they have to be kept on the property, because a big one for Dave is that he needs to clear that if it's not on the property, and he did not feel that he has the actual authority to specifically go, any chickens that are running loose, to pick up the chickens. And I know, of course, he can do it with dogs, but he doesn't have anything either in, with the zoning code, and since, the city, of course, can have its own rules about animals in the city limits, but this one is pretty much for, both inside and outside of the city limits. And it's just meant to clear up ambiguity is all that it's for. So I don't know if anyone has some questions on what was in the document that I provided.
Any questions for Bill?
And this is brought up because between, the Plan Commission President, Mr. Durham, and then also Mr. Westling suggested that before the Area Plan Commission is explain it to the City Council of what it is and then the whys for it. And because it's certainly not intended to step on the toes of the City Council, it's just that it's part of one of the, as I said, it's one of the means to actually start an amendment process. And there's been, I know, well, for example, when Mr. Urban was on the City Council, he started the process for one, which was then adopted into the zoning code.
So are you saying the only change is actually having to do with chickens?
Yeah, that would be the only one. It would be in the accessory uses, because what it has, it's kind of fuzzy language about, does it apply to chickens, does it not apply to chickens? It was with one of, probably a little more than a decade ago, it came up. And it's that, okay, it's like, well, my interpretation at the time was that with that 3 acres also applied to the chickens. Well, I was convinced that no, it did not. So there was an interpretation that, no, it doesn't apply to the chickens. But someone else could make an interpretation anyway, because the language is, it's subjective. And so we just want to make it a little more objective and give clarity to rules. As I said, it might also be helpful to Nick or any complaints the city might receive also. And one of the things that will be in there, I have as a initial provision is that okay, it's not just me, but anybody who has the authority to deal with animals, is also going to clearly state that they also have the authority, say, to confiscate the animals if they're not on the property. There's other jurisdictions that, as you can imagine, someplace that are long and then they're involved, they run them through the health code, and I certainly don't want to do something like this. This is probably the cleanest, the easiest way to do it, because it's something that's actually becoming a fact on the ground. So more and more as each year goes by, well, particularly as these last 2 years, there've been a lot more requests, and I think that Dave has said he's also seen a lot more questions about chickens, and the extension office also regularly gets questions about the chickens. And my personal perspective on it is also that it's something it's a concept I support, because I remember some of you had, between grandparents and of course parents, grew up in the Depression. Well, the primary source of meat for my grandmother, my mother who grew up in the Bay Area, was rabbits. So of course when she no longer had to eat rabbits, she would never eat another rabbit. Again, she ate too many rabbits. Between that and the mutton. But, so that's just that right there. So I just wanted to let you all know what's in it. And then with the commissioners is, anything that you can want to add, Dale? Are you happy with what I've said?
No. No, I wouldn't add anything to it except the,
Hey Dale, can you come up here, please? Thank you, sir.
See, too used to being on the desk.
the animal control officer that the city and the county both share, brought this request to the commissioners recently, a couple of weeks ago. Evidently, if I understand right, there's been some complaints here in the city about chickens. You folks over here hear complaints about things in the city that we don't always hear at the courthouse. So he brought this draft that you have before you for us to consider. So the commissioners simply forward this on to the APC, let them go through the public hearing process, let them hash out the details. And once they have their public hearing, then we will both get it back. You will all have an opportunity to make any amendments to it that you may see fit at the time. Commissioners will be able to do the same thing, much like we've done on previous matters. And if all is, if everyone's satisfied with it from there, then we'll let it become an ordinance. But certainly the rules for city chickens would have to be a lot different than they would be for chickens out in the county, you know. But the main thing I think Bill touched on was the unincorporated subdivisions outside the city really have no rules at all. And to take the ambiguity out of what does exist makes it easier for everyone.
Okay. Oh, and I think one thing that's also important to point out is because, and I think Diana, you and Chad have probably looked at more than your share of covenants over the years. Now, this does not affect any subdivision covenants that do not allow chickens in the subdivisions. Because since the covenants are private agreements, we cannot set aside the covenants. So if, for example, say one of the subdivisions someone lives in and it says no chickens, well, that's in violation of the covenants. So so they're not permitted under, so the ordinance would not say you can have it in that particular covenant. And it's just like any other thing then is as far as with the covenants, it's a civil matter.
So you're saying the ordinance cannot override the covenants?
That is correct, yeah. Yeah, the only thing that could override that with covenants would be, say, something coming through either the Indiana Supreme Court or the state legislature setting them aside.
Yeah.
Any other questions for while they're here? And if you do have any questions, Councilman Rob's our APC representative, so you can work with him on this as well.
Yeah, so if any of you have any, well, before Thursday you can contact me if you have any questions or you want if I can do anything more to enlighten you on this. And then also with Brian, and so Councilman Rob, he can actually then bring your comments also for a discussion that we'll have on Thursday.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's not about chickens. It's about rabbits in a subdivision. I don't know if you had his answer or not. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, how many rabbits are you allowed to have before it becomes it's a problem?
Yeah, as long as they're in a hutch, that's it's probably not much of a problem.
Okay, but the smell and you're right next door to someone.
Yeah.
And it's in a subdivision.
Yep.
So that's.
Yes, it will be the same thing with the rabbits with the subdivision within those is the only provision we had in there as far as anything like the rabbits are, because we don't have a limit on the rabbits in there, but it did make reference to the rabbits because I do know that some kids in 4-H raise rabbits, those type of things also. So we're trying to make sure that, that can actually happen, but that's something that we can look at as, the number of rabbits, but it's, the way rabbits breed.
Yeah, but what if you you're breeding the rabbits and you're selling the rabbits.
That'd be similar to the language that's in these as far as the eggs. Okay, if you have some extra eggs, fine. It's but it's not something to where you're having the rat enough chickens to where you're actually making a business out of it. So I can look at some kind of language and we can figure out some kind of language to, how to deal with the rabbits. But then as far as the rabbits, as far as it's in a subdivision, it's with the covenants, well, you still have the issue of, can someone breed rabbits with a big hutch in the back? But yeah, it's, I mean, I don't know if anybody's actually raising rabbits and then selling them or not. But I don't know if anybody's doing that in town or not.
Yes.
There is.
They were at one, yeah, I don't know if we're talking about the same thing, but they were at one time.
Yeah.
Still.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's the same one, but the one,
Yeah.
what about ducks?
Okay, well,
I don't know if that's.
what this has is, it has a maximum number of ducks. The one thing in there's like no roosters, no drakes, no swans, no geese, and no peacocks.
Yeah. Oh, it does say, yeah, it does.
Yeah,
say,
yeah, so the main one is because, of course, the roosters and the drakes are obnoxious, and then the other is, the peacocks, of course, good Lord, talk about loud. And then both geese and swans, no to those because it can be horribly aggressive animals. And, yeah, I mean, we can give some thought about how, more. But the one with someone actually who's, if they're living in a residential area and they're raising rabbits to sell, they're actually operating a business.
Right.
So that in itself is violation of the zoning code.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, well, it looked like you had a question.
No,
Is that just a,
I'm thinking of an answer.
oh, okay, all right. It's just such a quizzical expression on your face.
You pass on the questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
So like I said, is contact me or contact Counselor Rob with any questions or any things that you want brought up about it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, too, for being here. Appreciate that. Okay, so new business is done, department of business is done. We went down to old business. Is there any old business? Any miscellaneous business?
I do. I have a couple things.
Oh, good.
Oh, did you have something? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know if this falls under that, but I was gonna
Go ahead, because I've
mention,
got.
you got a resident on the corner of 20th and Western. His cars has been hit twice. He's had to pay deductibles twice. They're being hit by semis that's trying to come up 20th Street and make a right turn on Western. And he's complaining about that. I see the semi myself going that way toward
On 20th?
20th
I don't
and
know how you can
Western.
get that semi on 20th,
And,
but he's,
They should be going toward Park Road. They shouldn't be going toward Western.
Wow.
But he had a complaint that he, like you said, he paid deductibles twice on 2 of his vehicles. And he's parked them far enough away from the curb, or not back, away from Western, where they shouldn't be a problem. And I've seen where his cars are parked, and I drove by there, and the only way it could be hit is if the semi would make that turn.
Okay.
So there's a semi turning onto
Turning
20th?
onto Western from
from
20th.
20th.
Oh, coming down 20th?
I'm sorry,
Yeah, going west on
going
20th,
west on 20th.
west on
'Cause
20th.
I see him go by my house, heading
Yeah,
past the
that's-
school on 20th, heading toward Western. And I see it myself, so
What they do is get lost going down Grand Avenue.
I don't think they're lost.
Well, I think it's from the, it could
It's
be
from
from
the
the
hospital or
hospital,
school
hospital
road.
could be.
Yeah,
So we need to touch base with the hospital problem.
A lot of them's coming from the hospital.
I wouldn't think they come that way from the hospital.
I see them turn that way from the hospital.
I walk up there a lot. I've never seen them go down that way, but it's mine.
I know a lot of them when I was working, they got lost on going down Grand.
These guys are not lost. I sit on my front porch every once in a while, same semis, going up Western and going up 20th Street toward Western.
You have company name?
I'm sorry?
You have company name?
No, I don't. And I'm gonna touch bases with him to see if there's anybody in that area that has security cameras and see if we can get more information, but I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay, thank you, sir. Maps.
Okay, I have just two things that are going to be happening in town next week. Well, this week, Thursday and Friday, we're getting ready for it, but the Friends of the Library at last are having their book sale again. It's been 2 years since we've had one. So if you can't find something there, you're too picky, because we have probably 4 times as many books as what we usually have. And it's going to be at Expo Hall this year from Saturday the 20th to Saturday the 27th, excluding Thanksgiving, and the 26th and 27th will be Bag Day. And I think John is going to have a segment on Channel 3 about that, so you might watch for that. And all of the money for that goes straight back to the library. And we have a pretty stiff goal this time, but I think we might be able to meet it. And then there's last year we had a Christmas in the Whitewater Valley. It was an outdoor decoration contest sponsored by the Whitewater Canal Scenic Byway. And they're doing that again this year. Up until today, I thought the deadline for applications, they were really late getting the forms and stuff out, was the 15th, but they've actually extended it to the 25th. There are categories: best home in each county, best business in each county, and best community in each county. So it can be filed. The participating counties are Dearborn, Fayette, Franklin, Ripley, Union, and Wayne. And for home and business, the entry fee is $10, and the prizes are $100, and there will be a prize for each of these categories in each county. The prize is $100 in bragging rights, and the entry fee for the communities is $50, so it's really not expensive, and the more people that participate, the more Christmassy our city will look. So I think John will have this information on Channel 3 also.
Put that on Facebook page too, John, if you would. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Any other miscellaneous business? Okay. Going on to public forum. Anybody from the public have anything to say? Clint, is there anybody out there? Always ask, you never know. Okay, if not, we'll move down for adjournment. Take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign.